Every choice you make creates a neon echo that resonates through the digital landscape of your life. We follow these echoes to find the stories of survival, hope, and the ultimate triumph of the spirit. Click subscribe now and hear the truth in every single echo.
I didn't tell my fiancé I'd picked up the overnight shift on his sister's engagement weekend. I didn't tell him his mother had called me personally to suggest I sit this one out, and I definitely didn't tell him that the man who collapsed in my trauma bay at 1:14 in the morning was the same man footing the bill for the entire weekend. My phone buzzed at 4:30 on a Thursday afternoon. I was counting Narcan kits in the supply closet when I saw his name light up the screen. "Hey, so, quick thing," he said, and I already knew. He had a voice he used right before he asked me to shrink myself. Careful, apologetic in advance. "What's the quick thing?" "My mom's doing the engagement weekend at the Vineyard place. The one with the tasting room. You know how she gets about presentation." I leaned against a shelf of IV bags. "I know the place. I've been there. With you twice." "Right, no, I know. It's just, okay." So my sister's future in-laws are kind of a big deal. Like, the dad owns half the distribution warehouses on the east side. Mom's worried about how everything reads. The seating, the toasts, who's standing where in pictures, and where am I standing in this scenario? He laughed, but it wasn't a real laugh. "She thinks maybe it's smoother if you skip the rehearsal dinner part. Just that piece. You'd still come to the actual wedding eventually." I looked down at my scrubs. There was a faint brown stain on the cuff from a GI bleed I'd dealt with 6 hours earlier. My name was stitched over the pocket. Margaret Voss, RN. Smoother for who? Maggie, don't do the thing where you make it bigger than it is. I'm a paramedic, Connor, not a stripper. I don't understand what part of my job requires me to skip dinner. It's not the job, it's kind of the job. The Hendersons are old money. Mom's worried it'll come up, what you do, and it'll feel like a weird thing to explain at a rehearsal dinner. Like, oh, and Connor's fiancé runs into burning buildings and stabilizes gunshot wounds. It's a lot for a toast. I'd heard versions of this sentence for 2 years. His mother once asked if I'd considered something more in an office with hours. His aunt asked, with real concern, if it bothered me that I smelled like a hospital sometimes. His father, the one time we met, asked if I got hazard pay, like that settled something. "Sure," I said, because I was too tired to fight a fight I'd already lost 11 times before. "Whatever's easier. Thank you. Seriously. I'll make it up to you. I love you." He hung up before I could decide whether I believed him. My partner, Denise, was leaning in the doorway with 2 coffees, the good kind, not the station sludge. "You look like you got told something." "Connor's mom doesn't want me at the rehearsal dinner, bad for the photos." Denise made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a cough. "You, the woman who put pressure on a kid's femoral artery with her bare hand last week. Apparently that doesn't play well over salmon. These people only respect what they can put on a name tag." She handed me the coffee. "You working this weekend?" Picked up the overnight Saturday into Sunday. Time and a half, and now I have nowhere else to be. "Welcome to the club." She bumped my shoulder with hers. "We'll be miserable together." I smiled because it was easier than the alternative. What I didn't tell Denise was that it wasn't really about one dinner. It was that 2 years in, Connor still folded the second his mother raised an eyebrow. 2 years, and he still thought the right move was managing me instead of managing her. Saturday came fast in the way bad things always do. Clocked in at 6 for the overnight, and the unit was already humming. A holiday-adjacent weekend always brought out the worst driving and the worst decision-making in equal measure. By midnight, we'd run 2 overdoses, a fall from a roof during a backyard party, and a guy who'd somehow lodged a fork tine in his palm. Just after 1, dispatch came through hot. 61-year-old male, found down at a private event, possible cardiac, bystander CPR in progress, ETA, 4 minutes. I was first up. I always was. That's the thing nobody who hasn't done it understands. The second the radio crackles like that, your feet stop hurting, your bad mood evaporates. There's no rehearsal dinner, no fiancé's mother, no nothing. There's a chest that needs to start moving again, and a clock. The doors burst open, and they wheeled him in mid-compression. Tailored jacket cut off at the sleeve, a watch worth more than my car, skin gone the color of wet cement. Klopped at a private vineyard event, the medic said between counts. Some woman knew CPR, kept him going till we got there. Vineyard. Private event. I shoved the thought down where I shove everything during a code, because there was no room for anything except the next 30 seconds. I need the cart. Somebody get cardiology on the phone. Charge to 200. We worked him like a single organism, 6 years of muscle memory clicking into place, every hand knowing the next hand's job before it moved. Compressions, line, epi-push, charge again, clear, nothing. Charge to 300, clear. The monitor stuttered. Then it found a rhythm, thin and uneven, but a rhythm. We've got him, I said, and felt my hand start shaking. The second I stepped back the way they always did once the adrenaline had nowhere left to go. Denise glanced at the chart while the team moved him toward the elevator. Huh, Warren Calloway. She looked up. That name's everywhere downtown. He's the guy who owns half the distribution warehouses. The dad. The Hendersons. The man whose approval mattered more to my future mother-in-law than I ever would. Something in my chest went very quiet and very cold. Not rage exactly. Something with edges. I went to the break room and looked at my phone. 3 texts from Connor. Rehearsal dinner is gorgeous, you'd have loved the lighting. Mr. Henderson just collapsed, someone's doing CPR, total chaos. Anyway, miss you. Love you. He had no idea. I'd been the one running the code on the man his mother had been trying to impress at the exact dinner I wasn't allowed to attend. I didn't text back. I went back to work. By 7 a.m. I was hollowed out the way only a 16-hour shift can hollow you out. I changed, grabbed my bag and was halfway to my car when Connor called, breathless. Maggie, oh my God, are you okay? Did you hear about Mr. Henderson? He collapsed at the dinner. They took him to your hospital. I was there. Wait, you saw him? Is he okay? He's stable. Cardiac ICU, thank God. My mom's a wreck, she said. It almost ruined the whole weekend. A pause. I could practically hear him deciding whether to say the next part. Apparently it was one of the catering staff who started CPR, some girl named Priscilla. Mom's calling her a hero. Priscilla had done compressions for maybe 6 minutes before the ambulance arrived. My team had worked him for 40. But sure, Priscilla. That's nice, I said. I have to go. The brunch is starting. I'll call you later. Love you. I drove home in silence and didn't sleep so much as lie very still with my eyes open, watching the ceiling, hearing the crack of a rib under my palms over and over. My phone rang at 2 in the afternoon. Unknown number. Is this Margaret Voss? Speaking. Hi, this is Renee Calloway. I'm Warren Calloway's daughter. I got your name from the hospital. They told me you were the lead on his code last night. I sat up. I was part of the team, yes. Her voice cracked halfway through the next sentence. The doctor told me, if your team hadn't been as fast as you were, he wouldn't have made it through the night. You gave my kids their grandfather back. I don't even know what to say to that. I'm really glad we could help. How's he doing? Annoyed about the hospital food, which apparently means he's recovering. A shaky laugh. He wants to thank you in person, if that's all right. After we hung up, I lay back down and stared at nothing for a long time. Connor showed up that evening with takeout and a small wrapped box, looking exhausted in the specific way of someone who'd spent 2 days managing his mother's anxiety. Hey, long shift? You have no idea. We ate on the couch. He talked about the weekend, the toasts, the flowers, how relieved everyone was that Mr. Henderson pulled through. Honestly, insane timing. He's already talking about doubling his investment in my sister's husband's company. Guess almost dying makes you generous. That's one theory, I said. Oh, and his daughter called the venue to thank the catering staff personally. Real class, my mom said. I unwrapped the box. A bracelet, thin gold, clearly expensive, clearly chosen by someone trying to apologize without using words. Connor, this is too much. You deserve it. I know this weekend was weird for you. Next time it'll be different. I promise. I looked at him, really looked, the way you look at someone when you're about to say something you can't take back. 2 years with this man, a man who loved me, probably, in the limited shape his family had taught him love could take. A man who had no idea. I'd spent the night with my hands on the chest of the person his mother had erased me to impress, and who would likely never know, because it wouldn't occur to him that I was capable of something that mattered that much. We need to talk, I said. His face did the thing it always did. That's never a good start. Your mother asked me to skip the rehearsal dinner. You didn't push back. You just told me to go along with it. Maggie, it was one dinner. It's not about one dinner. It's about 2 years of your family treating what I do like a liability instead of a job. And you never once tell them otherwise. They don't get it. They've never had to. Your mother raises money for the children's hospital wing every spring, Connor. She understands medicine fine when there's a gala attached to it. She just doesn't respect the people who actually practice it. She respects you. She thinks I'm something to manage, and you agree with her enough to ask me to disappear for an evening. He stood up, frustrated, the way men get when a conversation isn't going the direction they assumed it would. I wanted one night where I didn't have to watch people's faces when you told them what you do. One night where things were just easy. The silence after that sentence had teeth. Easy, I repeated. I make things difficult. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. I stood too. You want to know what I was doing while you were toasting Mr. Henderson's health. I was the one who brought him back. Me. The girl too embarrassing to seat next to your sister's in-laws. Me and 5 other people he'll probably never thank by name, because we're not the kind of people who get thanked. We're the reason he's alive to write that check he's so excited about. We're the reason his grandkids still have a grandfather. Connor stared at me. Wait, you were. I was running the code, Connor. I didn't tell you because you didn't ask. It never occurred to you to ask whether the woman you exiled from a dinner might be capable of saving the life of the man you were trying to impress at it. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. That's not fair. Be honest with me. If I were a surgeon instead of a paramedic, would your mother have made that call? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. That silence told me everything the last 2 years had been circling around. I took off the bracelet and set it on the coffee table, gently, like it was something that deserved better than what it was about to be part of. I think you should go. Maggie, come on, we can figure this out. Can we? Because I don't think your mother's going to wake up tomorrow and decide my job is worth a seat at the table, and I don't think you're going to suddenly grow a spine where she's concerned. I'm not spending the next 40 years being quietly removed whenever it's convenient. So, that's it. 2 years and you're done? I'm not giving up. I held the door open. I'm choosing myself. Finally, he left. I sat in my apartment afterward and cried, not because I doubted what I'd just done, but because 2 years still meant something, even when they hadn't been the right 2 years. The next afternoon I drove to the hospital and found Warren Calloway sitting up in bed, color back in his face, looking remarkably alert for a man who'd been clinically dead 12 hours earlier. Margaret Voss, he said, reaching out a hand, the woman who put my heart back to work. Part of a team, Mr. Calloway.Warren, and I know about the team. Half the staff on this floor has told me you were the one who didn't stop. He squeezed my hand. Thank you. Truly. His daughter Renee was there with 2 teenagers who had to be grandkids, both of whom hugged me so hard I had to blink fast to keep from losing it in front of them. They tell me I need to cut back, Warren said, settling against his pillows. Less stress, fewer galas, actual vacations. Apparently, collapsing at a vineyard is the body's way of filing a complaint. Sounds like reasonable advice. You know what's funny? The young woman who did CPR before your team arrived, Priscilla, she only knew how because of a free training course my foundation funded at the community center last fall. He shook his head. Funny how things circle back. I fund the class, she uses it on me, and your team finishes what she started. It's a decent system when the funding's actually there, I said. You know what else would be a decent system? Fully staffed ERs. Paramedics who aren't running 16-hour shifts because there's nobody to relieve them. I hadn't meant to say it, but it came out anyway, and I didn't take it back. He was quiet for a second, studying me. I sit on the board at Mercy West. I write checks. I show up to ribbon cuttings, and I think, generously, I've been focused on the wrong end of the problem. Buildings don't save anyone. People like you do. That's kind of you to say. I'd like to do something for you. For saving my life. Name it. I thought about it. Really thought, because there was a version of this conversation where I asked for something simple and walked away with a number that would fix 1 year of my life instead of every year after it. Fund positions, I said instead. Real ones. Competitive pay, real staffing ratios. We're bleeding people out of this field because nobody can survive the hours. If you want to do something, do that. He nodded slowly. Done. I'll bring it to the board this week. 2 days later, my phone rang again. Unknown number, area code I recognized. Margaret, it's Diane Henley, Connor's mother. A pause, like she was steadying herself. I think we should talk. Okay, I said carefully. Warren Calloway called me yesterday. He's on the foundation board with me. He told me about the fund he's setting up and that it has your name attached to the proposal. It does. He also mentioned, rather pointedly, that you were the one running the code that saved him, and that you and Connor had been together 2 years, which I didn't realize it had been that long. Of course she didn't. She'd never bothered to find out. We're not together anymore, I said. A longer pause this time. Connor didn't mention that. Then, quieter, I owe you an apology. Warren made it very clear. I was a fool to keep you from that dinner. He said anyone capable of doing what you did belonged at any table I'd ever host. You don't have to apologize because Warren Calloway told you to. Mrs. Henley, Diane, please. And you're right, that's not why I should apologize. I should apologize because it was wrong of me, regardless of who pointed it out. I've spent so much time around people who write checks that I forgot the actual work is done by people like you. I appreciate you saying that. I did, even knowing it had taken a rich man's scolding to get her there. Is there any chance you and Connor might work things out? I don't think so. Connor's not a bad person, but he needs to figure out what he actually stands for instead of just going along with whatever keeps the peace. Until he does that, it wouldn't matter who I was. That's fair, she said. More than fair. That night I texted Connor. Your mom called. The apology was nice. We're still done. I hope you find someone who fits better into the life you actually want. He texted back almost instantly. You fit fine. I was the one who didn't. Maybe that was true. Maybe he'd grow into someone different one day. I hoped he would, somewhere far away from where I had to watch it happen. 3 weeks later, my supervisor pulled me into her office on an ordinary Tuesday, and I spent the walk there, cataloging every form I might have forgotten to file. Sit, she said, smiling in a way that didn't match the dread in my stomach. Good news. The board just approved a major funding increase for ER and EMS staffing. 8 new full-time positions, significantly above current pay scale. That's incredible. It's Warren Calloway. He's personally backing what he's calling the Margaret Voss Emergency Response Fund. $4.5 million, 5 years, dedicated to recruitment and retention. She slid a paper across the desk. He also specifically requested you be considered for lead paramedic, with the raise that comes with it. I sat back, doing math my brain wasn't fully ready to process. I'm interested. Good. You've earned it. And Margaret, thank you for saving him, and for fighting for the rest of us while you were in that room. I walked back onto the floor in a daze. Denise took one look at my face. Why do you look like you saw a ghost? I got offered lead paramedic, and Warren Calloway is funding 8 new positions. Her mouth fell open. Shut up. Shut up. We might actually get lunch breaks. Don't joke about things that aren't real yet, she said, but she was grinning, and so was I. That night, I worked my shift lighter than I had in years. Not because of the title, though that mattered, and not because some part of me liked that Connor's mother had been forced to eat her own assumptions. Though I won't pretend that didn't feel good too. It was lighter because I'd chosen myself when it counted, and the ground hadn't fallen out from under me. It had opened up into something better. 6 months later, the new hires started. The floor ran the way it should have run all along. Enough hands, enough time, enough room to breathe between codes. Warren stopped by sometimes to check on what he called his investment, and he always thanked me, and I always told him he didn't need to keep doing that. Renee and I got coffee every few weeks. She was a tax attorney, sharp and funny in a way that made the worst parts of my job easier to laugh about later. On what would have been our 2-year anniversary, Connor texted, "I'm sorry I couldn't be who you needed. You deserved better than how I handled it." I wrote back, "I am happy. I hope you get there too." And I meant it. Not because of the fund, not because his mother had finally said my job out loud without flinching, but because I'd learned, the hard way, that my worth was never going to be decided by who let me sit at their table. It was decided by the people I pulled back from the edge, the hands I held steady when everything else was falling apart, the work I showed up for at 1 in the morning when nobody was watching, and nobody was clapping. I was just a paramedic. And it turned out that was everything.